The unpredictable element is what's going to happen this summer, and we're all extremely hopeful that it won't be like last summer and we won't have the type of events that we saw around Queensland last year. Now, let's just assume that doesn't happen. We do know that the time when kids are most manifesting separation anxiety is starting school, and we know that's mostly starting year one and, interestingly, starting high school. They're the two peaks in the world for separation anxiety. So getting into school is actually quite a difficult time for some children. Children that have post-traumatic stress disorder or a disaster-related anxiety condition, especially if they haven't got therapy during the last year, will actually find that a difficult time. And I think we just have to be aware of that. The things that obviously work this year will work again next year. But if you do get contacted or if you find someone that is struggling, there are some very, very good things you can do. And, you know, teachers know this. I mean, one thing is obviously advising the parents that, you know, they bring the child to school. Parents hanging around is actually not that helpful. We do know that 5 minutes after the parent leaves, most kids are completely over it and extremely happy. A joke I often have with parents is deciding who's holding on to who the strongest, the parent holding the child or the child holding the parent. You need to work out who's got the most anxiety, and that can be quite instructive. I mean, if the parent's got more anxiety than the child, that's where you need to intervene. And that can be solved incredibly quickly by the other parent bringing the child. Another thing that you can do with older children is if you pick up a friend on the way to school, kids will very rarely be distressed and upset and embarrass themselves in front of friends. The older you get, if you pick an opposite gender friend, this is even a more powerful intervention. Okay, boys won't be that anxious in front of a girl in the same year, and vice versa. So your school counsellors are excellent resources around this kind of work. It's really very common work for them, and there's very, very good brief interventions you can do. But the bottom line is the kids that have an anxiety problem or have had a flood or cyclone-related traumatic emotional response will actually find it a little bit more difficult getting into school. Now, my final comment is that some schools have had quite a large degree of intervention from Queensland Health this year. There hasn't been the resources to have a lot of that response, but the good news is that there are more resources coming online in the next 1 to 2 months. So next year, we're very much hopeful of having a much more comprehensive response should teachers be worried about children or guidance officers be worried about children, and there are dedicated staff from health in Cairns and Townsville in the central area, as well as Toowoomba and the Lockyer Valley. In fact, there's a kind of a spread of staff across the state. So we're much more hopeful of a comprehensive response next year, and people should be mindful of that and know where they can get access to that. The quickest way for access is through your school counsellors.